First question, you answer, then I'll answer. What is the coolest thing you've ever done?
Summited Mount Everest.
That is pretty cool. I will give you that. I would say the coolest thing I've ever done was opening the NASDAQ when Field Trip listed on the exchange back. I guess we listed last July or something like that, but it was pretty friggin' cool to be opening and seeing our logo and our team up on the billboard in Times Square. So, all right, first question. Conrad, who's the winner on that one?
Congratulations.
Actually, save it to the end. Save it to the end. We'll just tally it up. Okay. Who is the most interesting person you've ever had dinner with?
Wow. Interesting person to have dinner with. Gosh. You go first. I'm still thinking.
All right. It was Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous, that TV show from the 80s. He was at a dinner I was at. I sat across from him. So Robin Leach is the most interesting.
It was like up close and personal with Robin Leach. I'm in a far from cheap. I spent this with my peeps all day. Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. And Alizé keep you fit. That Robin Leach?
I don't think that Robin Leach. He was like, I don't know. Did he record a song? Maybe he did, but he was the host of the TV show.
Perhaps referencing him.
That Robin Leach. Yes, that's probably the. I think there's only one Robin Leach. It actually
perhaps segues into my answer. My answer, I'm going to pick Grandmaster Flash. I sat next to him at a dinner once, and he was explaining to me. We were at this fancy dinner that was honoring Jay-Z, and Grandmaster Flash is, of course, one of not the first DJ ever, but amongst the first and most influential DJs in early hip hop. And he was telling me he was the first guy to put the same record on both turntables, and he would find a 4-bar loop, or it wasn't even a loop yet, a 4-bar section of the record that they called the break. And he'd play it on one record, and he'd tee up it on the other one, and he'd flip it over, and he'd play the same section, and then go back and forth. So essentially you were hearing what became a loop. And he could play this one 4-bar section of music forever. And I said, how long did you, from when you made that innovation to when anyone rapped ever, how long was it? And he said 4 years. So I said, if you never figured out that, there would have never been a Jay-Z, never been a Biggie Smalls, never been Kendrick Lamar. He said no. And of course, it was these loops that people began, just sort of shouting on the mic, keeping the party going. We call it emceeing, and then making up little rhymes, and that became the entire media and art form of rapping. And so that was a pretty cool dinner.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you that one off the bat. No, you don't even have to judge.
It's Conrad's choice.
All right. Next question. What's the most romantic thing you've ever done?
Gosh, I'm going to be giving up all my tricks.
Secrets? Yeah.
Yeah, my secrets. Man, it's so personal. I had I was dating a wonderful woman once she was into horses, horseback riding, and in particular, there's one trainer, and this infamous horse trainer, and I somehow tracked this guy down and blindfolded her and drove her there, and then took the blindfold off, and he was there, and it was a whole thing. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that story. That's very thoughtful. I'm gonna take a cue right out of the wedding book, but my wife Stephanie and I, our first trip was to Curacao, and we had an amazing time. And probably were in love with each other prior to that trip, but it was pretty awesome. 4 years later, when we went back to Curacao and actually got married in front of all of our friends, including getting married by a good friend of mine who's the most atheist Mormon priest you'll ever meet. But it was a very romantic experience. It was actually under a full moon, coincidentally, which was super cool as well. So I would say
you win.
Getting married. Thank you. But it's Conrad's choice.
You haven't done that yet. I haven't done the married part yet.
You got time, my friend. You got time. The world is your oyster. Unless you do more of the next question, which is what is the most dangerous thing you've ever done other than getting bitten by a rattlesnake in Colorado?
Also summiting Mount Everest without question.
For sure. For sure.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
look
without a
forward to
doubt.
hearing that. Probably the most dangerous thing I've done was falling out of a tree when I was 15 from about 30 feet up. I'm probably only alive because my left butt cheek hit the ground before my head smacked a branch a few inches off the ground. Or mountain biking down Yungas Road in Bolivia. I don't know if you know Yungas Road in Bolivia, but it's if you see the
Though
pictures of it, it's one of those roads that are about 6 feet wide, maybe 8 feet wide. On one side there's a mountain, on the other side there's 1,000 foot drop cliff, and trucks pass each other on this road. It's very harrowing, and riding down on a mountain bike was a hell of a lot of fun. But at one point I let myself go too fast, hit the brakes, and fishtailed perilously close to the edge of those cliffs. And that's probably one of the most dangerous things I've ever done. Which dovetails nicely into this next question. What's the dumbest thing you've ever done?
also summiting Mount Everest. It checks a lot of boxes, that experience.
It sure does. I look forward to hearing more about that, and I have a lot of questions about it. For me, certainly mountain biking and skydiving and all that kind of stuff is really dumb. But I'll tell you what probably felt like the dumbest thing I've ever done, which was when I was an articling student working at a big law firm in Toronto. We started playing this game that every day there was an email that went out to the entire firm about all the new matters that the firm had initiated representation on. And it meant nothing to us articling students. And it was kind of annoying. So we started this joke of trying to forward the email to all of our friends, being like, look at the exciting news. And whoever got the email out to everybody else first used to claim spoils for being the first to do it. But it was usually framed as spoils, insert expletive here, as a term of endearment to our friends. And so one time I did that. It was like in the last 2 weeks of my articling year. So I'm right at the end and I haven't been fired. And instead of forwarding it to my friend,
haven't been fired
to the entire firm. And I just remember hitting send and then like feeling my whole body wilt, being like, oh my God, I just sent an email to the entire firm that says spoils bitches. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired 2 weeks before the end of my articling firm and before the end of my articling year. And then the smallest of miracles happened is I got a bounce back because I guess the firm finally got smart enough from enough people replying all to the message that it didn't go to everybody. You had to have certain access to email the entire firm, which I didn't. So I got a bounce back and no one was any the wiser. But God, I felt really dumb in that moment. All right. Final question. How much do any of those things that I just asked you about matter for who you want to be in the future?
I would say little to none, only in the context of in moments of weakness that you can draw and remember times where you felt weakness before and overcame that. So for me, we talked about Mount Everest, mentioned already 3 times. That was certainly, the hardest thing I've done. And so it isn't who I am and doesn't earn me any points in the present moment. But in challenging times is something I can refer back to and go, hey, remember you did that? You could probably handle this too. So I would say only in that context and in none other.
100%. And that's exactly it, which is, I found myself, I don't know, in an emotionally challenged period over the last 2 weeks. And as I was driving to work today and came up with this idea and started thinking about what answers I'd come up with, it was a good lift, a reminder of the things I have accomplished. And so it stands there as just a reminder